Hey guys, this is Ashley with Blue Hill Glass, and today I'm going to show you how I created a honeycomb bowl using our 3D printed truncated icosahedron mold. And so here's what my bowl turned out as, and at the end of the video I'll show you some other projects I created using the mold. Here are some materials you'll need to complete this project. You've got your truncated icosahedron mold. It comes with your pattern, and it tells you how many hexagons and pentagons you need to complete which project you want to complete. And so you'll need to cut that many hexagons or pentagons and wrap them in copper foil tape. And then you're going to need, I'm using lead-free solder because these are things that people will likely be touching, but you can use 60-40 if you prefer. We've got some Novocan Flux, some Quick Clean for cleaning off the flux residue, polish for giving a nice shine, and then obviously your soldering iron. Now we're going to start by putting 2 hexagons on the blank sides of the mold, and then that mold that has the pentagon etched into it, that's where you're going to put your pentagon. And you're always going to keep your pentagon on that space. You're never going to put a hexagon on that space, and the reason behind that is because the way this mold is designed, it's going to create that perfect angle, because you cannot create a bowl shape with just hexagons. Think of a soccer ball, you need a pentagon in there, but we want to make sure that we're always keeping the pentagon on the pentagon space and never switching it with a hexagon. Now you want to apply a little bit of flux, not too much, just enough that your solder adheres, and then you're going to tack it together. And I soon realized I needed to turn the temperature of my iron up, since I am working in lead-free solder. That's higher than I normally solder at, and the temperature varies depending on your iron, so just use your judgment. If the solder's flowing smoothly, that means that the iron is at a good temperature for you. Now that I have my first layer tacked together, I'm going to just take my pentagon and I'm going to spin it on that piece. So I'm not even moving it off of it, I'm just going to spin. And now I have a blank space there on the mold to put in another hexagon. And as you're putting this together, you really want to pay attention to the lines in the mold. So the bigger it gets, a little bit harder it gets to do, but you're going to position it down where the line, the lead line, lines up with the line of the mold, and that's going to keep all of your angles proper, and it's going to keep all of your lines nice and consistent so that you can actually create that bowl shape. Now I'll just continue to tack hexagons onto this pentagon. So if you look at a soccer ball, which is basically what we're creating here but in stained glass, you will see that the pentagon never touches another pentagon. The pentagon only touches hexagons. Other hexagons touch each other, but in the shape, the pentagons never touch. So keep that in mind as you're assembling. Right now, it's kind of easy to see, but this thing has got so many repetitive shapes that it gets a bit confusing as you're going. So if you keep that in mind, that 2 pentagons never touch in this shape, then you'll be good to go. Now we're going to add the last hexagon to this like flower shape that we've created. So I just rotate it, keeping the pentagon on the pentagon space, and then I'm going to add in the last hexagon and tack that together. Now at this point you can stop if you want to create some tea light candle holders. And with the pattern we provide with the mold, it tells you how many of each shape you will need to create different projects. So for this one you just need 1 pentagon and 5 hexagons. now I'm just going to spin the pentagon on that piece and then add in another hexagon. And with this shape, especially at this moment, it's very unstable and top heavy, so you might need to hold it with one hand while you tack it with the other hand. That's going to be really helpful right now. As it gets bigger, it gets a little bit easier, but just because it's so top heavy, it wants to slide. So just take your time, and if you need to call in someone to help you, you could do that too. But just quickly tack it together, making sure that the lines of the lead lines line up with the mold. And then you can just continue assembling it. So it gets a little confusing at times, I will admit. This is a challenging piece because of the repetitive pieces. So you can see here I'm trying to figure out where it goes, and I just remembered the rule: no pentagon touches another pentagon. So I realized by this curve, the 3 hexagons, that I need a pentagon there in the center. All right, now that we've got quite a few pieces on, I'm just going to take a look at my bowl and get an orientation of how it's coming together. So it's kind of hard to tell from the video, but you can see that if I put the hexagon there down flat, I still need to do the other side and kind of fill that in to create the bowl shape. So your hexagon is going to be on the bottom. Remember, one of those hexagons needs to be your base. And so as you start building it, just find your base hexagon, and then you need to go ahead and add the other side by, again, tacking all your pieces on there. Now that I've got quite a few pieces added, I'm just going to get my bearings. I'm going to put that hexagon back down on the base and then figure out what other pieces I need to add in to create the bowl shape. So this part, I just switched it around to a different pentagon location just because the color, I'm trying to keep all my ambers and golds and yellows kind of random, and I had 2 side by side. So that was the reason for that switcheroo right there. So if you're making half of a truncated icosahedron like I am, then your final layer, or that row at the top, is going to be hexagon, hexagon, pentagon, hexagon, hexagon, pentagon, hexagon, hexagon, pentagon. So you're going to see that pattern appearing at the top. And that's how you can tell if you're on the right track. So with that last piece, I have assembled a half of a truncated icosahedron, and that's going to create our bowl shape with that hexagon there on the bottom. So the next step is going to be to solder the inside and solder the outside seams. Now to do the inside, you just want to brush on a little bit of flux, and then we're going to hold the seam we're working on flat with the ground. So you can see I'm kind of spinning it as I go. I'm trying to keep the seam I'm working on level to avoid drips and make sure that my bead is nice and smooth. And this is an open bowl, so I want to make sure it looks good here on the inside. I imagine this could be used as like a key catcher or a candle holder. So we want all of our seams nice and smooth and even throughout the inside. Once you finished the inside seams, we're going to quickly tin all of those edges, just adding just a little bit, and then we're going to top all those outer edges. So just apply a little bit of flux, and then we're going to grab some solder with our iron and do a quick up and down tapping motion to completely cover all the copper foil on those edges. So you can see that I'm rotating the bowl as I go. That's because we need to have that seam level to the ground, and tap it a couple times, let it cool, and then I can shift it. If I move it too quickly, then it's going to kind of fall off the edge and it won't be nice and smooth like what we're going for. Next up, we're going to solder all of our outer seams. And I apologize, my video kind of disappeared. I have way too many videos and pictures on my phone, so it like just completely wiped out this entire spot. Something crazy happened, but I slowed the video down just to be able to talk about what I'm doing here in the short clip I did get of it. So I did go ahead and tin all of those like outer edges what are going to be the rim of the bowl. And then I found that if I just kind of filled in those seams roughly, not even trying to lay down a lot of solder to make it smooth, just put a very base layer down and kind of did that working around all of the, like a couple pieces, and then come back later and put another layer down that was a nice smooth bead. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm just putting in a base layer, and then I'll come back and I'll tap it with some more and get it smooth. And remember, once again, you're going to have to hold your bowl here, keeping those seams you're working with level to the ground. So if you come up with an idea that's something to hold it for you, let me know in the comments, because I've definitely found this to be the most challenging part of creating this, was holding it for so long to keep it level. Once all those seams are done, I'm going to clean it with some quick clean. I don't use my tap water because I have hard water, and so it leaves behind a lot of oxidation. So I just find that using quick clean works best for me. So I spray it on, and then I use a scratch-free scrubby pad all cut up to clean up all the edges and get up all that gunk. So I'm going to clean the inside, the outer rim, and then the outside of the bowl. And lastly, I'm going to put some Mother's brand car wax on a paper towel and rub that in all the seams. This is going to give it a nice shine and get it all cleaned up, and also prevent oxidation with this car wax. So I have a lot of extra shapes up there because I'm going to be creating other things with this mold, so that's why they're hanging out up there, and I'll show you those after the video is done. Once that polish has dried completely, I can buff it off with a soft cloth, and I can use a toothpick to get it out of all of the seams. So here is the completed honeycomb bowl using our truncated icosahedron mold. And if you combine two of these bowls together, then you will create a solid shape. And this is what it looks like. It kind of looks like a soccer ball. I used clear textured glass to create that. And then I also used the mold to create these tea light candle holders. So if you purchase the mold and make a creation, let me know what you made in the comments. I could see lots of other creations coming out of this mold other than what I created here. Be sure to tag us with your projects. We're at Blue Hill Glass Studio on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you like this video today, please like and subscribe for more. See you next time.